captured by a beautiful Amazon. Humans explore the world. The following report recounts what some experienced in the process. This took place in the 50s years of the last century. At that time, the Brazilian rainforest was still largely untouched. Among others, the rainforest along the Amazon River and its tributaries. Warnings were issued against entering the unexplored rainforest. Warnings were also issued about warlike indigenous people. Nevertheless, adventurers and soldiers of fortune visited the Amazon and its tributaries. They traveled along the rivers by boat. Some of them did not return to civilization. They disappeared into the primeval forest, into the dense jungle, and remained missing. What had happened to the missing persons? Perhaps that's what's being reported here. Adam from Bielefeld in Germany traveled along the Rio Xingu in search of plants. He came to a forest that was particularly dense and wild. No path, no boat dock, no indication that indigenous people lived here. The treetops reached down to the water. Crocodiles lay on the shore. They watched the boats go by. Many schools of fish swam by. Very different kinds of fish swam the river up and down. Familiar and unfamiliar fish species, large and small fish. Birds screeched loudly. So did the monkeys, jumping from tree to tree and balancing on branches. Here in the wilderness, Adam wanted to discover plants that are suitable as medical plants. Anyone who finds such plants can get rich from them. Adam reached a riverbank with colorful, flowering bushes. He wanted to take a closer look at the blossoms and take samples. When he looked around, he discovered something completely unexpected. A beautiful girl was standing there on the riverbank. Adam asked himself, is it an optical illusion or is it real? The girl was clad in a dress as colorful as the blossoms on the bushes. Her body was dark brown, like chocolate. But she was no ordinary girl. She had dark, luminous eyes with a captivating gaze. These eyes endowed her with special abilities. To photograph the flowers, Adam picked up his camera. However, he photographed neither the bushes nor their blossoms. Instead, he took the picture of the girl. Then something incredible happened. The girl's glances were like a spell. Adam let fall his camera. It fell into his boat. Controlled by the spell, he went over to the girl. When she went into the jungle, Adam had to follow her. One look from the girl was enough, and he followed her wherever she went. Days or weeks later, people came by in their boat. They found Adam's boat and his camera. Adam, however, had disappeared without a trace and remained missing. When Adam's photographs were developed, there was a picture of a beautiful chocolate-brown girl. Carl from Bolzano, Italy, was an ethnologist. He focused specifically on languages. He traveled the world with a tape recorder and recorded the languages of indigenous people, especially languages that were not recorded in writing. To do so, he traveled along the Rio Xingu. He came to the riverbank with brightly blooming bushes. When he caught sight of a girl there, he stopped his boat. Approaching the girl, he asked her what language she speaks. She replied with words he did not understand. He wanted to capture her words, held a microphone out to her, and switched on his tape recorder. The girl was familiar with neither a microphone nor a recording device. She thought Carl was going to hand her something to eat and wanted to bite the microphone. When Carl pulled his microphone back, she scolded loudly. Carl began his audio recording, then he played back what he had recorded. The girl heard how she had been scolding, came closer, and looked at the spinning wheels of the audio recorder. Now, something you need to know in order to understand. Carl could only see things indistinctly. To see the girl and the flowers on her dress more clearly, he put on his glasses. Now he saw her eyes, clear and large. Her magical gaze met him, and he felt that he was no longer himself. She waved for him to follow her. He did it without thinking, without asking why or where to. Left behind were his boat, his documents and money. Many reels of tape and the tape recorder were also left behind in the boat. All of these was found weeks or months later, but there was no trace of Karl. Olaf and his brother Adolf from Kufstein, Austria, wanted to get rich. Their plan was to pan for gold along the Rio Xingu. Her dog searched with them. After several months at the Rio Xingu, they had already found numerous gold nuggets. As they reached the riverbank with its brightly blooming bushes, something glittered and shimmered in the sand. They jumped out of their boat and took a closer look at what they had seen. It was no gold, merely worthless fool's gold. They heard someone laughing, looked toward where the laughter was coming from. A beautiful girl stood there, gazing at Olaf. Olaf asked the girl whether one can find gold grains here in the jungle. The girl replied something in a foreign language. Then the girl beckoned Olaf over to her. As she did so, her gaze rested intently on Olaf. As the name suggests, in Amazonia, one must expect with Amazons. Amazons, which spell men. Only a moment later, the girl walked away and disappeared into the jungle. Olaf followed her. Adolf called out after him, "Wait, I'm coming too. Let's look for gold together." He called out in vain. The girl and Olaf had disappeared into the jungle. Adolf did not understand why Olaf followed the girl immediately and without hesitation. He repeatedly called loudly for Olaf. "Where are you?" Parrots came flying in and repeated, "Olaf." Adolf waited for hours, but his brother did not return to the riverbank. He waited for days, but Olaf remained missing. The best trackers known are dogs. Adolf instructed the dog to pick up Olaf's scent. The dog moved off, sniffing, and Adolf followed. They came to a clearing. There, Adolf witnessed something incredible. Men worked hard. Some were in a garden picking service berries. Others worked in a house, cleaning, mopping, and cooking. Meanwhile, the beautiful girl who Olaf had followed was lying relaxed in a pool of fragrant water. From there, she gave the men instructions. She told them what to do. Over there, at the edge of a cornfield, Adolf watched his brother harvesting ears of corn. Quietly, and without the girl noticing him, Adolf crept over to Olaf. He pulled him away from the grain, pulled him behind trees. Just like Adolf, the dog also pulled at him. Adolf whispered to Olaf that he should come with him. Olaf shook his head vigorously and said, "No." Olaf tore himself free and hurried back to the cornfield. Undoubtedly, the girl had bewitched him all too powerfully. She had him completely in her grip. With a heavy heart, Adolf gave up trying to free Olaf, and he and the dog moved away. Not that the girl would spot Adolf and cast a spell on him too. Adolf went to the police in Manaus, the capital of Amazon, told them what had happened. He asked them to help him. The police stated that there was nothing they could do about it. They said, "The girl is an Amazon, and Amazons are allowed to do that." Sorry, there is no law forbidding men for serving Amazons. That is life here, dangerous and unchangeable. The country is named Amazonia because of the Amazons. Disappointed, Adolf left the police station. Adolf gave up trying to save his brother and returned home to Kufstein. He was rich thanks to the gold found on the Rio Xingu. That could not console him for having lost his brother. Every day he prayed to God that his brother would be delivered from the spell. And so, year for year, he waited for Olaf's return. No longer under a spell and free. One day, everything changed. Adolf read in the newspaper that jungle along the Rio Xingu was being cleared. The jungle, too, in which the Amazon lived. Taking possession of land. Farmers believed that can be done with the jungle. Subsequently, corn was grown there. This grain was needed to produce ethanol, and this ethanol was added to gasoline. Adolf visited the area with the newly planted cornfields. He questioned the new corn farmers. They had not encountered an Amazon and her servicemen. At first, the corn thrived magnificently. After 2 harvests, however, the yield dropped drastically. The springs dried up, and the thorn grain withered. The corn farmers gave up their land at the Rio Xingu and left the fields. A rule of reason dictated that new trees must be planted when forest was cleared. To revive this jungle, Adolf took his money and bought tree saplings and planted trees. Seedlings from a tree nursery in Manaus. The young trees grow rapidly, and the springs flowed again. When Adolf planted the seedlings, men came and helped him. Among these men was Olaf. The beautiful Amazon came too. She recognized Adolf and remembered that he was Olaf's brother. Then she looked at Olaf, releasing him from her magical gaze. The brothers embraced, and Adolf returned with Olaf to Kufstein home. This time a happy ending.